Good day, children. Today we move on to the first poem from the textbook First Flight. The poem is titled Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet. His work was initially published in England before it was published in the United States. He is known for his realistic depictions of rural life and his command over American colloquial speech. He frequently wrote about settings from rural life in New England in the early 20th century, using them to examine complex social and philosophical themes. He was honored frequently during his lifetime and is the only poet to receive 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. He became one of America's rare public literary figures, almost an artistic institution. He was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal in 1960 for his poetic works. On July 22, 1961, Frost was named Poet Laureate of Vermont. Moving on to the poem Dust of Snow. It's a simple and short poem, but with a deeper and larger meaning. The poet explains how an act as petty or simple as experiencing snow on one's body can brighten one's day up. So let's move on to poem. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Shook means shake. Hemlock is a poisonous tree with small white flowers. So the poem is set in a scene where the poet is in a bad mood and he is walking by a tree, that too a hemlock tree. So hemlock tree is a poisonous tree, and as he passes by, a crow happens to shake some dust of snow on him. So whether it falls on his head or shoulders, we don't know, because there is no specific mention about it in the poem. But the crow was landing on a tree, on the hemlock tree, probably shivering with cold, and maybe trying to readjust itself on the branch. So whatever it is, the action of that crow resulted in the snow lying on the tree to shake, and it fell on the poet. So these two agents of nature, the hemlock tree and the crow, they're basically signifiers of sadness and gloom, just like how the poet's mood was in the opening scene. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Rued means held in regret. So, for reasons unknown, the author was having a terrible day, but the falling of the snow on his head lifted his mood instantly. He had already spent his entire day in a bad mood, but the remaining part of the day was saved by the crow and the hemlock tree. So generally, hemlock tree and crow are used for negative references, but here the poet has used them beautifully to portray that even inauspicious things can bring joy and happiness too. So one must not take things for granted, and we should be open and we should accept whichever way nature chooses to bless us. Okay, this poem basically is an eye opener for all of us, rather than being upset about a particular incident, or rather than being angry on a particular thought and ruining your entire day. You are not just ruining your entire day, but you're also ruining the mood and the heart of people around you. So maybe what nature does to make us happy, you never know. Sometimes a quick shower of rain can relieve you, especially when you are out in the sun for a long time, or you are in a place where you're not sitting under the fan and it's extremely hot outside, you're feeling sweaty, and suddenly a cool breeze comes. That can lift your mood, isn't it? Similarly, on a hot day, a sudden shower of rain, that also can change our mood, because the whole day you have been feeling very irritated because of the heat. You can't move even for a minute. You can't move from under the fan. So, in such a situation, when a cool breeze with a very cool rain comes, you feel extremely happy because your whole, the atmosphere around you has changed and it's cool. So, these small actions from nature can help us and can also probably reform our mood and give us something better. Now we can see that the poem actually uses irony because the way the crow shook the dust of snow from the tree and it fell on the poet. In a normal circumstance, someone who is in a very bad mood has all the chances of getting angry. I think that's what we all do, isn't it? When you're already in a bad mood and somebody splashes water on you, or a sudden shower of rain comes and you don't have an umbrella, you get wet, what is the normal reaction that comes out of you? You will be like, oh, should this happen today itself? This is the wow, I'm having the best time now. You might start cribbing and complaining about things. But look at the poet. It is the opposite that happens here, isn't it? Here, the poet, instead of feeling angry at the crow for dropping the dust of snow on him, he actually reflects upon what made him sad or what made him have a bad mood. And he realizes that because of his bad mood, he was actually ruining his entire day. The whole circumstance in this poem is quite ironic because this very small act from nature had changed the poet's mood to a better one. Rather than ruining his mood or worsening his mood, the act of nature changed the poet's mood from bad to good, from worse to much better. So, this is the irony used by the poet in this poem. Now, the rhyme scheme of the poem is AB, AB, CD, CD. Okay. Now, the various poetic devices used here are, first one is alliteration. Alliteration is the occurrence of the same consonant sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words in the same line. Okay, so here it is, if you look, second stanza, first line, has given my heart the her sound, the H sound, and the third line in the second stanza, and saved some part, the sir sound or the S sound, saved some. Okay, then we have enjampment. Enjampment is when the same sentence continues to the next line without the use of any punctuation marks, then it is called enjampment. And enjampment is used throughout the poem. If you notice, it is used throughout the poem. Okay, so these are the various poetic devices used. I hope you understood this poem. Thank you and have a nice day, children.